Okay, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we're going to be discussing a very special watch from Bulova. It's the Bulova Moon Watch Reissue. So, a little bit about the brand. Bulova was founded in 1875. It was originally American in origin and is now owned by Citizen. As far as our market segment goes, they cover everything from very entry level, really near fashion watch, and do actually offer some pretty solid mid-range offerings as well. So, a little bit about the Moon Watch, quote unquote. Basically, these watches all sprung from automotive designs originally, so very similar in theme, something that's very reliable, of course legible, with a tachymeter scale, as well as, if possible, a chronograph. So all the boxes are checked from that front. So the official nomenclature is the 96 Bravo 258, and this is considered a special edition moon chronograph watch. So it is not a limited edition as far as I know, but it's considered a special edition and isn't really in full release yet. So the story behind this watch is essentially it is a replica of a privately owned wristwatch worn on the moon's surface. This was actually designed as a one-of-a-kind Bulova and was gifted to NASA Apollo mission astronaut Dave Scott. So essentially the reason why he used this, because he was issued an Omega Speedmaster, is that Scott's Speedmaster became damaged. Essentially the front crystal popped off, which necessitated he wear his backup, which happened to be his personal Bulova. So the rest of all the moon watches that actually accompanied the astronauts on the Apollo missions are all under ownership at the Smithsonian. That particular personal watch that actually was worn while on service of the moon recently sold at auction for about $1.6 million. So needless to say, with the success of that and that cool story and some of that nostalgia, the brand decided to bring back this watch here as a special edition. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, so let's start with the retail price. On Bracelet, it is actually $650, and on Strap, it retails for $550. Essentially, these are still in limited release, but you can find them on eBay or through various authorized dealers for anywhere from $450 to $475 right now. So definitely nice value for money there. The case size is 45 millimeters. When I took a caliber to it, it actually was closer to about 44 and a half, but rounding up, I'd consider it 45, although it does wear a bit smaller than you might think. And the height, as you can see, is 13.5 millimeters, counting that nicely box cut sapphire there, standing proudly. And of course the material is stainless steel all around. Back to the crystal, it is a sapphire. It is flat with an AR coating underneath, and as you can see, it's very nicely raised there. So very clean look. Definitely checks the boxes. As you can see, the inner bezel has the tachymeter scale there. And essentially, a tachymeter scale is used to compute speed based on travel time or measure distance based on speed. So as long as you have one of those variables, then you'll be able to calculate. I won't go into the calculations in this video, but you can definitely feel free to look up a couple other videos that really go into depth on how to use this scale. The crown is a non-screw down crown. very large, really nicely done there. It's polished, as you can see, as well as the pushers are polished. They're about the only piece of polished metal on this piece. All right, so the movement is the Bulova in-house high-performance quartz movement, normally found in their Precisionist line. It is 262 kilohertz as far as the frequency goes, and what that is actually able to achieve is a variance of about plus or minus 10 seconds a year, which is pretty outstanding, considering the average quartz you'll find, would be plus or minus 15 seconds a month, and then you compare that to your average automatic, which is going to run around plus or minus 15 seconds a day. Of course, there are always higher grade movements out there that are going to give you more accuracy, but I think in this case, it is in-house and it does have a really great feature set. I think it was definitely the right choice for Bulova here. Although they do have some mechanical chronograph movements that they use in their Bulova AccuSwiss line, which I think would have been cool maybe for an actual limited edition to offer something mechanical to kind of really have a piece that sings to the watch enthusiast. But all in all, I think this is a great piece regardless. So let's take a look at the case back. The case back is solid and stamped, as you can see, with very nice etching that's done there. And then the etching is actually filled with some black coloring so you can read it a little better. And essentially what that has is that Apollo 15 kind of commemorative mission data right there on the case back, which is very nicely executed. So, I mean, as you can see, really most of everything is as far as the case goes, is kind of has that fine bead blasting, and then the bezel here, as you can see, is brushed, and then which ties into the bracelet, which is also fully brushed. So we'll close this butterfly clasp here. So the dial has applied indices, which is very nice. It is matte black in color, and it has a date complication at about the 4.5, nestled right there in between, which is a very nice feature to have. And if you take a closer look, you can actually see that this dial actually has a lot of dimension. Those subdials are actually slightly recessed and have that radius cut to them that really helps play with the light there and really add some visual interest to the dial. And then if you look outward, you'll notice that the minute and seconds index is actually deeply recessed, which really brings the tachymeter scale on the outer bezel really to the forefront. And it just, it does two things, having this kind of these cutouts and multiple levels on here, especially when combined with the applied indices. It breaks up all of that information and all that data into a three-dimensional plane, which I think helps kind of separate everything that's on there to make the dial feel a little bit less cluttered, while still having all that information, which I think is a very nice effect, pulled off and executed very nicely. So as you can see, the hands are of course painted, and the lume is actually a bluish color. I couldn't find anything on the Bulova website saying what type of lume it was, so I would initially think maybe BGW9, although Citizen does have blue lume, so Citizen being the parent company, they could be tapping into some of the Citizen lume. So not really sure, but I think it actually does have pretty nice lume. So why don't we take a quick peek at that. All right. So this is not a diver's watch, so it doesn't really need to have outstanding lume, but I think for what's there, you know, those are small indices, very slender hands and everything. Go ahead and charge this up and take a look. I think the lume is, you know, more than sufficient. So as you can see, it does have that nice cool blue tone to it. So it definitely has that nice quality touch, which definitely is very cool. It would have been nice if the running seconds hand had some type of lume on it, just to kind of bring the dial to life in the dark. But again, this isn't a diver, so not really a necessity, but definitely kind of a nice luxury to have. So now, looking at the bracelet, oh, also want to mention this is 50 meters water resistant, which is pretty nice. It's definitely, you know, for a sports watch, you're going to want to have something that you can sweat on and, you know, take a couple of splashes with. So that's definitely a nice bonus. As far as the bracelet goes, it has solid links and end links. It's a non-tapering 20 millimeter bracelet. I wouldn't quite call it an oyster style bracelet. It actually kind of has a little bit more curvature to it. I'd say maybe it'd be in between like maybe in between a president bracelet and an oyster style. And then of course, coming back to the signed tuning fork clasp there. Definitely a nice piece of Bulova history. So another closer look, you can see very nicely executed butterfly clasp there, and the linking is done through, you can see through the little arrows there, through push pins. So it would have been nice to have screws, but I think with the thinness here of the bracelet, that really adds to the comfort, especially because this watch is a bit top heavy. I think they made the right choice by keeping it, you know, fairly simple. So let's go ahead and get this watch on the wrist. All right, so as you can see, it wears very nicely on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. Up close, let's go ahead and kind of get the far shot. So, you know, taking a look at it, I'd say probably 45, you know, really that's kind of my limit as far as what I'm comfortable with for watches. But I think with the barrel shape and, you know, the kind of tapering contour that it goes out to the lugs, it really helps the watch wear much smaller. And then with all the information there on the dial, it definitely seems purposeful. It's not just a big empty dial. It's large and it has a lot of information there. And here's the profile on the case. Very nice. As you can see, you know, I have a relatively flat wrist, so I think it definitely wears pretty nicely. And you know, let's go ahead and check out the chronograph feature. So this precisionist model has a very nice chronograph. So in that subdial there, you can see the tenths of a second just kind of blistering away really nicely. And then if we stop it, it stops precisely, and then reset back. You can see that very smooth sweep back. Doesn't snap back like a mecha quartz, or of course, you know, a full mechanical chronograph would do, but I think, you know, that sweep back is very nice. And what I do like is that the actual you know, chronograph sweep there of that main seconds hand actually isn't overly smooth, which I'm sure has to do with saving a little bit of battery, because I know initially from the precisionist line that was something that was a bit of an issue. You know, those those batteries are running out in, 2 years or so. So nobody really wants to deal with replacing a battery every 2 years. So I think that kind of toning down some of the high frequency really helped out. But, of course, on the return, they can really take advantage of that very nice smooth sweep. So let's go ahead and put the watch down here and kind of get some closing thoughts. So, on the wrist, it's a very sporty and toolish design. It definitely has a lot of personality, and it has those monochromatic good looks. It does wear smaller than you would think, but it still feels extremely substantial. It definitely has a great story behind it. I told my kids about this, kind of the background story of how this is a moon watch. It's this unauthorized piece. And they really ate it up. It was fun for me to tell the story too. So, true to that Bulova tagline from Mad Men, it's not just a timepiece, it's a conversation piece, and that really rings true today. So, I gotta say, I'm more than happy with it. There are, as I mentioned previously, there are some model variants. There's this model on Bracelet, and then there's another one that comes with basically kind of two special edition straps. One of them is, more like the NASA Velcro original strap, and the other kind of is this leather carbon fiber look strap, which is very nice. But I do enjoy the Bracelet, and I found this for a great deal. So, I had to jump on it. As far as comparable models go, of course, you're going to want to compare this to the Omega Speedmaster Man on the Moon. Although the Man on the Moon is a much more expensive watch, also it's going to have a lot more prestige. So that's something to consider, but not everybody wants to spend a couple $1,000s on a watch. So that's also something that's out there. I think a closer competitor would be the Certina DS2 Prezi Drive, which is also a high accuracy quartz chronograph, and it's a really great piece. I've experienced with that movement on my DS Action Diver chrono, and I gotta say I really enjoy the feel of that. I'd say the chronograph gives you more of a mechanical feel when you're pushing on the pushers, and the seconds hand snapback, which is very nice. But that's out there. Hopefully, I'll get a review in on the DS2 Prezi Drive chronograph soon. So the bottom line is, this is a very stylish watch, with all the modern technology, as well as a great story, from a brand with a really underappreciated history. Bulova at one point was really at the forefront of technology. So they have a really great history and have achieved some great innovations. And they were actually probably one of the more recognizable American brands for a time. So it's very cool to see Bulova kind of returning back to that American ethos that made them so great. They did recently, I was reading, that their headquarters, they moved back into the Empire State Building, which I think really says it all. So I gotta say, I'm happy with this piece. Probably my last closing comment will be, this is kind of a polarizing watch. Many will think, hey, just get a Speedmaster. Some, were actually very excited about this piece until they found out the size or the movement, and then they were just really bummed. I was included, but I gave the watch a chance, and I have to say that I'm glad that I did, because I think it's definitely a worthwhile piece, and I recommend it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll definitely get back to you guys. Oh, my camera's kind of freaking out for some reason there, but go ahead and like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.